So in this video we are looking at forms of business, and this is the first of three. This is a sole trader. So what is a sole trader? A sole trader, as the name would suggest, is just one individual owning the business, all by him or herself, hence sole trader. It's just one. A business that is owned by just one person. If you want a definition, that's going to be it. That'll be fine. So a sole trader personally owns all of the business assets, but they are also personally liable for all the business debts that go with it. So on the left-hand side of your sheet, you have a fact file. These are the facts that you'll need to know. A sole trader has just one owner, no more. A sole trader is unincorporated and therefore has unlimited liability. And a sole trader can employ an unlimited amount of staff. Just because there's only one owner doesn't necessarily mean that they can't employ staff. They can have as many as they choose. So what are the advantages? There are a few of them. It's quick and easy to set up. Plus, in the future, the business can always be transferred to a limited liability company at any stage. By being a sole trader, it doesn't mean you can't upgrade to a limited liability company later down the line. Second, they are simple to run. The owner has 100% control over everything. That is the decision making, that is the profit, that is the direction of the business, whatever you want to call it. The sole trader, the one owner, has 100% control over everything the business does. There is minimal paperwork. All I need to do is call the Majesty's Revenue and Customs, the taxman, tell them that I'm now an entrepreneur, I'm self-employed, and I can start my business as a sole trader. And finally, it's easy to close, it's easy to shut down. If I find I've got bored with it in a few months or years' time, or indeed if it's not working, I can close it just as easily as I opened it. And the owner takes all the profit. One of the big advantages of being a sole trader. One person, the only person who takes all the profit. But there are some disadvantages. There are a few. The owner has full personal liability for any debt that runs up, and that's unlimited, remember. They have unlimited liability. It can be harder to raise finance. Sole traders often have limited access to funds. There is only one person, remember. If the business is going to cost 50,000 to set up, that one person needs to find the full 50,000. Whether that's savings or whether it's via a bank loan, it's down to that one person. And that's tricky. 3, the owner is the business and the business is the owner, and vice versa. The business suffers if the owner becomes ill, if they lose interest, if they run out of ideas, or if they run out of cash. There is only one person that this business is going to be reliant upon. And if things go wrong, especially if he's ill or if they want to go on holiday, there's nobody else to run it. Therefore, it can suffer if the business owner is not around. And they can pay a higher tax rate. Not often, but it is possible. If they make a huge amount of profit, they will pay a higher tax rate than a limited liability company. And finally, the owner, remember there's just one of them, the owner may have limited skills, experience or knowledge, and therefore might be short, might be lacking, might even have a significant gap in running a business. And there's no one else to help them. That is a big disadvantage. And finally on this one, making the right decision. Now there's no space to put this on your worksheets. It's not essential notes to keep, but if you are asked whether this particular business should be a sole trader or a limited liability company, it'll be interesting to know how to come across the right decision. 1, is the business high risk? Is the risk solely on the owner? And if it is high risk, I would suggest a sole trader perhaps isn't the way to go. 2, does the business need a large startup capital? This can be difficult to find if there's just one owner, so something to bear in mind. 3, if the owner has specific but limited skills, they may need to employ expensive staff to compensate for that shortfall. might actually be better off running this business as a partnership so they can complement each other's skills rather than having one owner, limited skills, and then employing a whole bunch of employees to be able to do the bits that the owner can't do. Something to think about again. If the competition arrives, how does a sole trader compete? Do they have enough capital, enough money behind them to be able to differentiate the product maybe? Will they have to put an advertising campaign? Will they have the right background to compete against a competition if that arrives? And finally, remember, the opposite also applies. So there we go. That's a sole trader. Fill in those note sheets, and if there's anything that you need to clarify, anything you need to confirm, give me a shout. If not, go back over the video again, make sure your notes are correct. This is an important part of Unit 1.4.